Hey, Pat, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah. Well, first, I really appreciate the invite and the time today. Um, I guess background, been in sales for about 35 years. I've been through multiple industries. I'm in technology now, started in printing of all things, once upon a time. Um, Happily married for a long time, two wonderful boys. Just enjoying life.
Yeah, you got a quite diverse background. How'd you get out of
Yeah.
like the printing sales into like payroll and
Technology. So yeah, that's a great question. So started my career in print, went to college for that, went into sales, really enjoyed it, moved around a little bit, relocated back to the Midwest, and that industry was just going the wrong way, right?
yeah,
Like print was going like this, and I was selling more, I was making less, and that's no fun, right, for a sales guy.
that's the wrong direction.
So yeah, so I really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I want to do next, and I leveraged my network. This is when I really learned the value of LinkedIn, candidly. Looked at a bunch of different industries and settled on technology. I learned pretty quickly that technology is lucrative, right? It's fun, it's fast paced, it solves a lot of business problems, right? And that, for me, that's a lot of fun. And I learned my skill set that I had in print. It's relationships, right? It's relational selling that it would translate very well into this space. So yeah, I kind of worked my way over here and talked the current company into hiring me, and I've been here 4 years now.
Well, let's dig into that relationship thing because I just did a video on LinkedIn and a lot of people misunderstood it.
I saw that.
What's your perspective on it?
Um, so before I even went into sales, Brian, a really close friend of mine told me people buy from people they like.
Everyone
And
says it. Yeah.
I learned pretty quickly that I could develop, if I developed trust and I developed a relationship, that people would buy from me, right? And a big part of that solving problems, right? It's answering the phone when things are bad, because that's a great way to get into a new account too, right? Like just landed a new account yesterday. You know why? Because he's tired of his partners and he wants to try somebody new. So the relationship is important, and I think we have to be transparent. We have to be consistent. We have to tell them what we can do and can't do, right? Because in the business that I'm in, I don't just hunt, kill it, and move on to the next one. I did that in the payroll space, right? When I was doing HR. But in this business and in the printing business, I'm with that account forever. I mean, I still have relationships with buyers from the printing business that we still talk. So, that to me is the relationship part of it, and that takes time to develop, sometimes it takes 12 or 18 months to get a shot, you just have to count the little wins along the way and till you get a big win, if that makes sense.
What were the major lessons when you shifted from print to technology? Was it smooth and easy and no bumps, or?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. It's this business is very complicated. I mean, I grew up in the printing business. I knew it inside and out, right? I didn't need any help. I'd only bring help when I was trying to create value to the customer in a team approach. But in this business, very complex. So, I've just kind of learned the business. I think you have to be curious. We have to be hungry. We have to want to learn, right? We want to have to roll up our sleeves. So, initially for the first year and a half, it was just understanding business issues and business problems and business outcomes that my customers were trying to address. And then figuring out, how do we solve those problems for them? What is it that we do? And then connecting those dots, and then bringing the smart people into the room with me to kind of, communicate how we do that, I guess. So for me, it was just about connecting those dots. hey, you have a problem. I know that problem. I know we can fix that problem. I'm not 100% sure how, but and now 4 years later, I've kind of learned a little bit more. I can take that sales process a little further. So,
And how did you learn to connect those dots on your own? Because the company gives you some help, but it looks like you did a lot on your own.
yeah. Yeah. I think just being a student of the game, really caring, really, it's the relationship, Brian. Really caring about my customers, and wanting them to have good outcomes, to get value from investments, to win in their market, and help them win. Make it about them.
Yeah. Not enough reps do that, do they?
They don't, Brian.
No.
It's a small percentage, and that's the top 5%, right? Yeah. A lot of people don't want to invest that time. They're lazy.
Or they just, they're looking at the world from their perspective. They're under tremendous pressure.
Yeah.
And everybody's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And the real thing is you don't have time not to do it.
You know what? It's a marathon, right? Sales is a marathon. People think it's easy, and it is really a marathon. And if you want to, so one of the things that allowed me to be successful of relocating in the print business, starting over, moving into, SaaS technology, HR, payroll, starting over, now moving into technology and starting over, is just the process and saying, hey, it's going to take 12 months, right, to really get things going. And having a company that believes in that, right? So there were lots of job offers I turned down because it just wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
I wanted to go somewhere that was going to give me an opportunity to do that, because I have a process and I know how to get there. It takes time. And if you're just trying to get to the next number, monthly, quarterly, it's a miserable life, right?
It is. And I see a lot of people giving up way too fast. A lot of people with 9, 12, 14 months at each job. And it's like, that's no way to live.
How do you ever get any momentum?
Yet no momentum, either internally at the company or within your customer base.
100%, both ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you make a good point, right? That's the other thing a lot of reps don't understand. You have to sell on the inside too, right? It goes both ways. I mean, you got to be the squeaky wheel. You got to have people internally that want you to win, because when you win, they win. So that's important. But it takes time.
What would you say to somebody who's in something like print sales? Either it's B2B, but it's not in technology, it's not in high margin, it's in a laggard industry that's really not growing, highly competitive, price oriented.
Yeah, that's a tough question, man. That's a tough question. I still have friends, right? I haven't been out of printing that long, maybe 7 or 8 years. I mean, I want to say get out, but that's not always realistic, right? So I guess I would say a couple things. Have an exit strategy, right? Don't wait too long. Know kind of what your next move is. If you are in print, I think you have to find out where's the money, right?
Yeah.
And there are some places it's digital, right? But you don't want to sell $1,100 jobs. You want to sell programs. So you got to find ways to wrap up all the customers' needs into one contract, I think, or get into the packaging or point of sale. It's a much different world. You're right. It's a much different world over there in kind of the manufacturing and printing and B2B stuff.
And what was the 1 or 2 pivotal moments in your sales career that took you to the next level of where you wanted to go?
Investing in myself, right?
Yeah.
And that was reading books, listening to people like you. There's no shame in stealing what works, right? Like, find out what works. So I had sales training initially when I went into sales in print, and I kind of learned a process, right? A sales process, very important. I bought a couple of books that were written by a very successful printing salesperson, And again, I just started applying those things, right? And figuring out kind of what worked for me and adapt it to my own personality. And then, then you kind of come up with it with a framework for how you sell, right? And then just kind of that applies. Selling is selling, I think, at the end of the day, right? There's some nuances based on where you are, but selling is selling, and the relationship, is a big part of it.
And when you say selling is selling, how much is the process versus the rapport in the relationship?
How much is the process versus the rapport? I mean, I think the rapport and the relationship is integral to the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of know where you are in that process, of trying to develop. You have to build value, right? You have to build value with them. What's in it for them? Why are you going to talk to me, Brian? Why are you going to take my call? Right. So I'm leading with value. It used to be always be closing, right? ABC, but now I think it's always bring value at the end of the day. So you always have to be bringing value and getting little wins. If they just read my email and respond, even if they say no, not right now, that's a win, right? Because so many are unanswered. So then it's a phone call, it's a voicemail. I drop by, and I get 5 minutes with them in the lobby. Those are just little wins that I think allow me to kind of continue to, hey, this is McHugh, right? I'm different than everybody else, and just when you're ready, let's go.
Yeah.
If you have enough of those, in your funnel, Brian, the old sales funnel, if you're hitting all those and you're being consistent, you're working hard, and you have effort and activity, you'll start hitting some of those, and you can flip them over and turn them into clients. So
No, you used another word that I think is overused in sales and misunderstood: value. Because what we see as value is our time, our product, our knowledge. What they see as value might be help with their career, might be help understanding how to deal with their boss, how to solve something internally that might not be product related.
That could be the turning point in the relationship. When you give them something that's valuable to them that is nothing to you, right? Provides no value to me, provides value to you. That's when things start to really turn, and they're like, hey, this guy's different, or this girl's different, this salesperson is different. And then you're in, right? Then you're like, let's go, and then you can lean in on that partnership and relationship. Yeah.
Because that value turns into trust, because it's a give without an expectation in return, and it's selfless.
Spot on. Massive. Give to get, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of ingrained in us, in the law of reciprocation.
Yeah. No, it's very good. Yeah. We do that as humans, right?
We do.
I think so. Not always.
Humans, when we turn our human hat on.
Yeah, not everybody does. A lot of selfishness, I think, around us today, and in society and within sales and within business. But that, there is the give to get, and the selfless aspect of it. I mean, very important, very important.
Right, because I think too many people think of the relationship only in the context of a transaction instead of two people helping each other.
Yeah.
And the transaction
100%.
happens to happen, but it's not 100%. The primary thing.
So that was the reason. So I'm in print, and I want to get to where I am right now. And I didn't get the right, had job offers, but it just wasn't the right fit for me. I knew what I needed time, I needed to retool, I needed support, training, all that. So that's when I went into the SaaS technology, sold HR, sold payroll technology, sold managed services in that environment. But that was a 100% pure hunting role, right? When I landed that account, it went to an inside customer success person, and I went out and found the next one. And it was fun. I mean, it was a blast, but it really wasn't, after a few years, it wasn't feeding me, right? And so I knew it was time, after a couple of years, I knew it was time to take the next step, because since I couldn't get to here in one step, I knew I was going to have to take 2 steps to get here.
Yeah.
But I learned the value of what really makes me tick, right? As far as my selling, and it's that give to get. It's the relationship. It's just selfless, being able to do those kinds of things. I enjoy that. I like to do that. I like to help.
And you went and got some certifications as well with AWS, and
Yeah,
it's
that
not
was
easy.
man.
How's
I'll
a
tell you
print
what.
guy get that?
That was I was sweating bullets, man. That was pretty grueling. I mean, that
I
was
bet.
14 hours of instruction and training, and then a 90-minute test for AWS to get that cloud practitioner license. But certainly fulfilling, right? But it's where my industry is going today.
Yeah.
It's cloud. What is cloud? I mean, it's another data center, but it's putting your stuff in other places, and getting value from that, and flexibility and agility and all those kinds of things. So,
But most reps wouldn't go through that.
no way. They
Why'd you?
wouldn't.
Why
They
did you?
wouldn't. Because I want to be the best. I want to be out there. I want to be at the top of the leaderboard, right? I want to be able to have those kinds of conversations with my customers and be the expert, right? Be a good resource for them. I want to bring them value at the end of the day. So I
Yeah.
have to invest in me to do that.
Because without that knowledge, the conversations don't go very far.
Right? They don't,
They don't.
No. The conversations need to be around them and what are they trying to do and where are they trying to go and what are the 4 or 5 things that are really impeding that, right? And if I can knock down 2 or 3 of those, will you do business with me? Right? I can't solve all your problems, but if I can knock down 2 or 3, will you work with me? And they will. And so it's like, so I know a little bit about the cloud and the OpEx and the value prop of that, right? Plus the traditional, you're in technology, so you get it, the internal, on-prem and network and security and data center, and really how does that all tie together and how do you get from here to there? It's a process. So yeah, you have to invest in learning it.
Because I think too many reps get stuck in this is who we are, this is what we do, this is how it works, this is what it costs, which is really the simple sale, but with many more steps.
Yeah. Well, it's
And
the old sales style, right? Features
yeah,
and benefits.
yeah. And the client's like, okay, send me a quote. I have it as an option that I will not buy. Right? And you're
How are you?
selling big
Yeah.
big ticket items today, right? Enterprise deals.
Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty significant. Yeah. And what's if I approach it like that sales rep, how am I different than anybody else that's calling on them? Right?
You're not.
You're not standing out, you're blending in. And so how do you stand out? You have different conversations, you do things differently, you lead with value, you make it about them. Because a lot of reps, you said that earlier, a lot of reps don't do that.
Yeah. Because what's their favorite topic?
Them.
Right? There's no
Right?
mystery, right? It's not
It's
your
me.
product. It's not
Yeah.
you, not me.
It's the 2 ears, 1 mouth, right?
And that's it. And I think we kind of glaze over that too quickly. We assume we know that.
Yeah.
But do we do it?
Yeah. It's easier to talk about than to execute, right? And I think the hardest part that I see in all these different industries I've been in and people come in the selling is a couple things. They're not all in on it, right? They think it's easy. They don't realize this is actually work. And the organizations, I think, have to support that. And there has to be a culture of training and development and helping people learn, and that's important, because if I win and the team learns from that, and then you win, then we all win together, and then I learn something new from you or a problem you solve for your customer. I have, and there's just crowdsourcing. But I think we have to invest in that as organizations. Everybody's out being a lone wolf. We're not really sharing the intellectual property that we're gaining.
Yeah. And I think today, certainly being a student of the game, because the game is so complex. And when you're playing it, you're not seeing the whole board. You're kind of
Mhm.
in that one move. What do you see most reps that you've observed, no names, no companies, but what do they typically do wrong?
They show up late, they leave early. Um, they don't have a plan, right? They're not consistent. The old adage was seven touches, right? I would challenge that. I think it's more today, right? So I think that if you're a new rep, you have to use all five senses. What I mean is you email, you call, you link in, you other social channels, right? And you have to know how you're using those channels to touch that person, right? And the assumption is you're bringing value anyway, but I think the reps just don't do that. They call and leave a voicemail, and it's a terrible voicemail, right? So they're not going to get a call back. They don't go over there. They don't try to show up unannounced and just drop off a ooey gooey butter cake, or some cookies or a 6-pack of beer, right? Oktoberfest. I mean, just be different, And I think sales reps, a lot of them are, I think, just they don't know, or they're just lazy, and that's why they fail.
Well, they see other people doing well, taking orders, and they just say, oh, it's all about finding the right territory and the right manager. And it's like, I don't know.
It's
How
about
often do
effort.
you luck into that?
Yeah, you have to build that, right?
You have to
I mean,
build it.
I don't want to rely on anybody else for my success. I mean, I've rebuilt my business a bunch of times, and the easiest way for me to do that is if I do that. If I wait on you to do that for me, it'll never happen.
And you hung out or stayed at like the payroll company for a while. It was not
Yeah,
a lily pad jump of a year or two. It was substantial.
yeah, it
And
was
now
almost
you're
4 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what motivates you? What's your driver?
Um, I mean, I'm a sales guy, so I like the money, right? I mean, first and foremost, let's be transparent about that. It's not the only driver, but I think as my career's progressed, it's changed for me. I always like to help solve problems. I do it within my own social circles, right? Like I'm the guy that always wants to try to figure it out for you and help you figure it out. But I like doing that for customers. As my career has changed and has progressed here, I really enjoy this space. I mean, it is so fascinating. There's so much cool stuff happening, right? And the way we're enabling business and the way business is accelerating is pretty fun to be a part of. And that excites me. That's what I get up for every day, and there's grueling days, right? There are days that just you're like, I hate this business, but at the end of the day, and it's the entirety of the opportunity, and it's just a blast, and I'm still doing a lot of those same things. The income is good. I'm helping people solve problems. I'm being creative. I'm collaborating. I'm building team, and we're with the manufacturers, with our company, with the customer. We're all winning together. So that to me is a lot of fun.
And if there was one skill that you could take a vitamin for to get you to the very top, what would that vitamin be called?
Just be persistent.
Yeah. But
Don't
that
give
you
up.
don't have, that if you had it.
For me personally,
Yeah, you.
it would probably be the no vitamin, like to maybe be a little selfish, right? And say, hey,
Yeah.
here's some lower hanging fruit that maybe we pass off to the new reps, and I go bigger. I do have a hard time of letting go of stuff. A little bit of a micromanager.
Well, that's kind of common in that a lot of people find out when their territory gets smaller, they sell more. They're more focused, not distracted with a lot of, low ROI activities.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, when I started here at the current company, I had the Illinois territory, and my boss gave me a Excel file with 450 companies in it, right? And So I spent 12, 18 months just blowing up that list, like driving all over Illinois, calling, emailing, inviting to webinars. And, as people responded, that list came down to 100 companies, right? That at least responded to me, yes or no. So I knew they had a pulse. And then, in the next year, that list came down to 50. And now in year 4, I'm looking, that list is 20, right? And so that there, you got to find the meat on the bone, but it takes time and effort to kind of go through that and have a plan to do that. So.
And what type of deal excites you? Is it the big strategic deal? Is it the highly competitive deal? Is it the big logo deal?
Yeah, it's the really complex strategic deal. Yeah. I mean, you do a big data center refresh or network refresh. Those could be massive deals, but
they're not hard.
I'd rather do a cloud readiness assessment, right? With a company that is, hey, where are you at? You're mostly all on premise with all of your technology, but you're wanting to leverage some of that cloud value and kind of taking them down that path and seeing their eyes open to the possibilities because they don't really know. So, the strategic deal, there's a lot of education typically with the client because they don't know, and you're consulting more than really architecting, and those are fun deals, and they're not always big deals initially, but they lead to the larger deals and they lead to kind of the ongoing project, the gift that keeps on giving for salespeople.
And what was the smartest career move that you made?
Going into sales, definitely.
After
I didn't
that.
want to. For sure, leaving that print space and moving into the technology space, 100%. Yeah. Best decision ever. So.
Yeah. And did anybody warn you against doing that? Try to talk you out of it?
Probably, but no. Somebody probably said that's a terrible idea. You're in printing, you're making, you have a book of business and everything else, but it's right. But it's again, sales is going one way, income's going the other way. It's not sustainable, so.
And did you have any resistance trying to get that job from the hiring company, given that you didn't come out of technology or weren't selling into HR or finance?
Oh man, it was a grind. Oh yeah. You don't have IT experience. You don't have IT experiences. You don't have IT experience. And, initially it was, I'm the director of IT for the McHugh family. My mom calls me when she has computer problems. I fix them, right? My dad calls me. Then I moved to, I moved out of print into the SaaS technology and the managed services, HR, payroll, all that kind of stuff. And then I was using that as leverage, right, to get to where I am now. And even then, it was a lot of selling. I had to sell myself, right? Yeah. And basically, when I got hired, that was the only objection that they could come back with is you don't have IT experience. And I said, isn't that your job to teach me IT? Like, I know how to handle the business process. I know how to sell. I know how to get us in front of people. I know how to build value. Like in the technology piece going to come, you're going to train me. And so that's what got me the job, but it was a big hurdle.
I bet. Cool. Hey, Pat, I really appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, look me up on LinkedIn.